Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this version of the Intentional Living podcast. Marty Keller here in Sacramento with my dear friend and comrade Dan Gutierrez, also here in Sacramento.
Hello, everybody.
Morning, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. The sun is shining, and I look forward to riding my motorcycle to work today.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
The uh, the spring has really started to bust out all over here in this part of the country. Anyway, I just got a text from my youngest brother who lives back in my home state of Michigan, and he said I saw my first robin today, so I guess spring might be starting up back there too.
cool.
So, so as we were talking before we began this podcast, I'm coming up on the sixth anniversary of my dad passing. Uh, he uh, he died just as the whole COVID thing was starting to um, become a problem. He was in a nursing home facility, also in my home state of Michigan, and they had just started doing lockdown there, and we were able to get them to ignore the lockdown rules. So I was able to fly back from here in California to Michigan. My sister came in from Texas, and one of my brothers, came in from Montana, and my youngest brother, who was there with my dad all along, and his wife were there. So we were able to be with him when he passed. And we were talking about this, it got us to thinking about what happens in our childhood to create a pattern or a template for the way we relate to the people we love as we grow up and become adults, and particularly how we continue to relate or deal with our parents. Because there's part of the challenge that we have in recovery is to not blame them, not make them wrong for whatever happened in our childhood, whatever traumas may have been uh, given to us as a result of the way they raised us. Um, in part because we know that everyone does the best we can with what we know, and we can reflect on things like, for me, my parents were 21 when I was born, so they were barely out of teenage years, and whatever childhood trauma had fashioned them was still alive and well. And then this little baby shows up, and they've got to figure out how to deal with it. And
Yeah,
like my mom's mom had been dead for years, so she didn't even have a mom model. So there's all those kinds of things that occur, and each one of us, you in your own life, me in my life, anybody watching, we all have our own particular uh, things that happen to us in childhood, and we do a lot of generalizing here in this podcast about the principles of childhood development, the principles of childhood trauma. What is it called? About PTSD. That's the term for the generalized PTSD, as opposed to the specific that one gets out of
mm,
uh, a
right,
singular traumatic event. Um,
right. Complex.
Complex. Thank you. The complex PTSD that is essentially the PTSD of 1,000 paper cuts. Little things that happen consistently to us that uh, throw us off balance, or that are little harms that accumulate the impact.
Right.
And so I'll just start it out by reflecting on that one of the things that happened in my life is I remember quite specifically when I got into my 20s and I left home and I started my own career and all that kind of stuff. I just remember acutely acutely hating my dad, and I didn't want anything to do with him. Um, I had all of these judgments about his character. Uh, I found that I thought that he was like a real phony, and I would watch him interact with other adults, and I'd say, "Oh, he's fooling you. How can you be so stupid?" Uh, and I moved to California in my late 20s, early 30s, and he would call me, and he would try to keep a relationship going. Which just every time the phone rang and it was him, I would cringe, and I would immediately plan to get off the phone as quickly as possible. And I came across some point. This is the way this recovery might work. Is I had the grace one moment. I don't remember how it happened. I don't remember the circumstance, but I just had this little insight that said, you know what, you're just like him. It was like some kind of voice of grace. It wasn't a voice with a finger attached to it. It was like a gentle prodding. It's like we would say in our work, would you be willing to consider the possibility that you're just like your old man?
Right.
And there's just something in that moment where I guess I was open to the possibility. I just said, oh, okay, yeah, maybe that's true. And it flipped my relationship with him. And once I began to see that I might just be like this guy, that's like my choice then is, do I hate myself the way I hate my father? Or do I take this as an opportunity to, as we would now say in our work, learn something about myself? So that what it turns out is that we are so imprinted by the emotional states of our parents that we essentially inhabit them. Now we got mom and dad, so there's a combination of them in us. So I'm not exactly like either of them, but I do have both of their energy. Um, and that learning to accept that might just be part of the essence of recovery.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I mean the one moment that stands out in my growing up, I think it was, I don't know, maybe 19 or 20, and I got I got engaged to the lady uh, that I married, and I got exposed to for the first time over an extended period of time a different family of origin, right? Different
Sure.
family, how things were done differently, and how people acted differently. And I remember, I don't know, I guess I was pretty brash at that time. Um,
No.
yeah, that's also a characteristic of my mom. She spoke the truth without much of a filter. Um, so I came home one day and I just noticed there was a stark difference when I left my girlfriend's parents' house, and then I came home and I was sitting down at dinner, and I can't remember where we're eating, and then I don't know, I just looked up and I go, we're not a family. We're just three people who live in the same house.
Wow.
And both my father and mother never forgot that statement. And but that was my first time that I had the awareness that things were different in my house compared to other people's house. Um, and it was a stark difference. And I was like, okay, they're different. And then as I progressed on, when you get married and stuff like that, you get into a relationship. As I found out later, that it becomes a battle royal of the family of origins. And I didn't understand it at the time, but many years of hindsight and recovery. And it was like, wow, uh, I could see now that I am like my mother, which is controlling, um, and using emotional and verbal violence to manipulate other people, um, cruel, um, say things without compassion, just say them. Um, and I'm also like my dad. I realized that he instilled me a duty. You have a code that you live by. Very strong values. Same thing with I look back and some of them are, um, they do influence and have influenced me to be the person that I am. Um, and there's other things that's, I used to, when I got into recovery, I used to blame my mother all the time. My mom, this is all my mom's shit. And eventually wait a minute, she was married and oh, there it is. Well, what part of it wasn't there from my dad's side? Well, he wasn't there. He wasn't physically there. He was always gone. And then I go, that has to have an impact on me, as a child. I wasn't necessarily aware of it, but I also, part of the things that I got was that I was never good enough, right? I remember, like when I was like 7 or 8, and my dad was stationed in Vietnam, and we would play outside, and then around 5:30, all of a sudden the street would be filled full of traffic, and it would be the fathers coming home from work. And I remember my driveway was always empty. Dad never came home from work. And I was like, wow, I mean, I think about that now and I go, that had an impact on me. It's
Sure.
like, well, where's dad? Why isn't he here? You know? And, as children, you interpret that, well, you can interpret that as there's something wrong with me, otherwise dad would be here. He doesn't
Sure.
love me, right? Uh, and I got that sense that carries through into the day is that I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me that I have to earn my love. There's an achievement that I can attain, then I will get my love. You can't deny me that. Look at the trophy. Look at the plaque. Look at the diplomas. All these things. It says right here I'm worthy. Now you have to tell me that. You can't deny that. You can't deny me that. And that's one of those things is I don't remember ever getting it. And then years later, I don't know, probably about 10 years ago, uh, I got reunited with my dad as my mom was done. My mom died. And so I got reunited with my dad because he was still married to her. I didn't know that. Um, but he hadn't divorced her, but he had separated from her. And he allowed her to stay on his insurance policy, and he gave my mom half of his retirement pay. So he didn't have to do that. He could have got a divorce and um, that kind of thing. And he gave her the house. So these things I didn't know at the time. And when I got back with my dad, I found these things out. So it's like, oh, okay. Um, Years later, I mustered up enough courage to ask my dad um, if he was proud of me. Right? I mean, that took. I mean, that was. I would rather jump out of an airplane without a parachute. If I given the choice, I would do that rather than ask my dad if he's proud of me. But I got enough courage up, so I asked him, and I braced myself for the answer. And he goes, "Well, I've always been proud of you." And for that fleeting moment, I allowed the guard to fall down, and I go, and I felt that I knew it. or yes, I finally got it. And then a nanosecond later goes, and then it goes, I don't believe it. And I was just sitting there dumbfounded. I go, you got the answer you want. And then seconds later, you go, no, don't you believe that for a minute? And it was, I laugh now. It's because I have some recovery behind me. That's that little boy trying to protect himself. That's the reticular activating system that's going, no,
Well,
don't you? No.
yeah, you just named the heart of the ACA dilemma. Is that we really want that love and we don't believe we deserve it. So we get stuck. We're twisted between this heartfelt, normal human desire for unconditional love and the inability to believe we deserve it. And like that tension is what is difficult to resolve. At least you can't resolve that one on the level of the problem, as John
No.
likes to
And
say.
it, and it's and it's just like, I look back at it and it's just like, well, then, I've got myself so convinced that, if it's true, now I got to change everything. The whole paradigm has
Yeah,
to
yeah.
shift. And it's just like, and if that's true, I become vulnerable. So that all this, what that little Daniel came up with is that to be worthy and to be loved, you have to strive, you have to have achievement, you have to earn your love. And then it's like, okay, well, it's
And
already
it's
there.
and
And
it's
it's like,
not earnable.
it's like, now what do I do? And it's just like, no. I mean, literally like that. It's like, no, that's not
Yeah.
true. And then it's like, I unroll this scroll of evidence, that I'm about to present and hold up, you know, convince me, and it's like, it's like, and then it's like, okay. And then, then the recovery information makes sense. This is the reticular activating system going on. It's detecting a threat and it's not going to let it through. It's not going to let it through.
It can't
It can't, because
let
I
it
will
through.
die. I will die if I don't protect myself.
Yep.
That's not a conscious thing, but that's running in the background.
It's not a conscious thing, but it's actually programmed into our psychological neurological system.
Right.
And so it's literally physical. It's not just spiritual or
No,
psychological.
it's not a
It's
concept. No,
it's
it's
the body organizing itself to defend itself against threat. And
and so
what's
how
the
does
threat? What's the threat a little kid feels? Abandonment.
so the segue here is back to getting back to relationships. So it's like, okay, I remember, in my relationships, that word love and connection, um, it's just dangerous, right? Um, if somebody loves me, I have love confused with rejection, abandonment, pain, and then I get into relationships, and you know that's still there. I didn't realize it, but in my first intimate relationships, that was ever present, and I would only go so far, and then my characteristic, I became the person who uh, created an environment where I would find somebody, and they had a need, and I would fill that need. And therefore they would actually literally become dependent upon me. That was the theory. They would never leave me. So that's the fear of abandonment. And in that process, I create the foundation for the abandonment,
Ironically,
because I have love with confused with doing, being something for somebody else, which is not me. So they fall in love with the persona, or the facade that I project out and become. And then in the end, over enough time, people will see through it. And then what do I got? I don't believe I'm worthy of being loved and accepted, so I'm screwed. Just being me is not good enough. I have to become and be something else for somebody else for them to love me. And then eventually I don't let people love me because I don't love myself. So nobody's ever got the real version of me because I've never allowed myself to be me.
Yeah.
And it's just
Well, that's just the iron law of projection. What we say, the world inside of me or outside of me is but a reflection of the world inside of me. If I don't love myself, then I can't love anything outside of me. And
I
I
don't
will
know how.
and I will treat the people outside of me, particularly the ones that I have the emotional impulse to want to connect with the most, I will treat them the same way I treat that little boy, that little wounded boy inside. I'll treat him with disdain. I'll treat him the way I felt my parents treated me. I'll reproduce. It's like the sins of the father are visited on the children.
Right.
And I'll start behaving to my, first of all, I've been behaving to myself since childhood the same way. And not because I'm choosing that consciously. As we said, this is programmed.
Mhm.
It's really difficult oftentimes for people when we first get into recovery to really appreciate how a little child, an infant, a 2, 3, 4-year-old child, has no option but to be reflective of the environment that his parents or her parents create.
Correct.
We don't have options. We don't have, oh, let's observe this other one. It's like it's what you said when you went to your wife's family, your fiance's family, and you saw something completely different. How old were you? Said you were late teens, early 20s. I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so so that means for 20 years, you in your inner assumption was this thing that I belong to is the way it is.
Yes.
Period. And only when we get exposed to options do we actually find the opportunity to grow. So until we get there, we're just going to recapitulate what our parents created
Right.
for us. And if that was an environment fraught with the threat of abandonment, then we're always going to be stressed, hyper vigilant. Uh, for me, it was like falling in love with drama, creating drama all the time, and it's like the way my parents did, my mom especially. Everything became a drama, um, and it was only when I was able to grow up and step outside of that and see something different that I and had that grace moment to say, you know what, this is okay. This is the way I am. That opened the possibility of self-love. And what is self-love for us? It starts just accepting ourselves the way we are. Just in this moment,
Right.
just for this moment, I'm going to accept I might be like my dad. And
Yeah.
in
I
that moment, there was just like you talked earlier, there's a flood of relief, a sense of relief. It's like it's like I just let myself off the hook for a second.
right.
And
I,
then
I
there's that part of me that goes, "Oh, I like this. I want more of this."
yeah, it's a re-education, you know. To me, I remember I remember when I first got my first computers and stuff. They came with pre-installed software, and I remember my friends who were into computers at the time, and it's just like they could see that the software was not good, so they kept trying to delete it, right, uninstall it, and the computer wouldn't let them, right? So and it's just like, okay, well, we come with pre-installed software out of our family of origin that's running in the background, and we wonder why our screen crashes. The operating system has problems.
Right?
Yeah, and
Yeah. Good
never
analogy.
and never. Well, for me, I always thought my diagnosis of the situation was everything all the problems that I had was because there was something wrong with me. And as getting into recovery and stuff, ACA especially, um, I finally realized that I wasn't the problem. It was the information that I was using to run my life was could be possibly change the information about how I see things and how I behave and what I believe, my life will be different. And it was like, okay, so let's do a, you know, when my mom died, um, one of the things in ACA was we do a family history, right? And that was like the first time that I looked at my mom's history, and it's like, okay, she's born in 1936, so at age of 4, 3.5, 4, World War II starts. Her father dies during the war. She's raised by her mother, who has
And she's living in Germany.
she's living in Germany. She has 3 other kids. They're being bombed. Um, they're eating. Her childhood. By age 45, so she would have been what, 9 is when the war ended. Well, that's her entire childhood. You know, and even if the war started in 39 and ended in 45, she's born in 36. Well, all shit was happening through all of that.
Yep.
Okay. So she was raised by my grandmother, who's, when I came along, all the siblings couldn't believe how loving and caring my grandmother was toward me. And they would tell me stories about, how they grew up. And my grandmother was very draconian, you know. When she spoke, everybody listened. And if you didn't listen, you got smacked, because her job was to get her children through this war. And when she spoke, you had to jump because it was out of survival.
Literally,
Well, literally.
life and death.
So my mom got that as a template for how you raise children.
So what you're saying essentially is that because that was imprinted as the only thing she knew, when she was raising you, she was still psychologically hearing the bombs and trying to
Yeah,
protect you from them.
right. Her mission in life was Daniel doesn't die on my watch.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. And
Which, when you step back from it, that's pretty noble.
and she was successful.
Yeah, you didn't.
And she, along with that, um, how I absorb things, and based on the impact of that style of parenting, she was physically, verbally, and emotionally violent to me to try to maintain control. And there was no discussion about my point of view, or there was
Right.
none of this. It's her way or the highway. And if you didn't like it, well, you got smacked. And it's like, okay.
Well, and the irony is that that was, from whether that was conscious or not, I don't know. I never met your mom, but it was an act of love in her awareness.
Right.
She wasn't doing that to you because she didn't like you. She did that because she loved you and wanted you to survive. Again, and not out of choice, but that, again, imprint from childhood becomes the adult behavior unless something intervenes to offer us something else.
So we talked about, my mom loving me. So while I was incarcerated in the early 2000s, my mom wrote me a letter. And so in the letter, um, there was a sentence, she was talking about something. And then in the sentence says, I really, really like you. Okay. So I didn't think anything of it. And then several years later, um, I showed this letter to a friend of mine, and she read it, and she goes, "Did you do you see what this says right here? And I go, what? She goes, it says right here. She goes, she really, really likes you. And I go, what? And I read the letter a few times, but I had missed that. She goes, she can't get herself to say that she loves you. And I looked at it and I go, oh my God. If she said that she loved me, in her mind, that was a sign of weakness. She would be losing control because she'd be giving me what I wanted. And it was just like, oh my God. But I had missed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She goes, she can't even tell you that she loves you. And I go, oh my God. And I'm wondering when then I go, I wonder if her mother ever told them that she loved them. Because I don't remember that happening.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Well, especially in a
wow.
time of war. I mean, your grandmother may have been predisposed never to say it anyway, because her mother, your great grandmother, never said that to her.
Well, my grandmother, I can't remember how old she was, but she grew up with the remnants of World War One
Yeah.
in that culture, that society, being German,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and it's just like it's generational. You can,
Yeah.
one thing gets passed on to the other. And it's just the ability to be able to have resources where somebody has decided, you need to take what is it, fearless inventory of your family or your parents.
Yeah. Fearless moral inventory.
Yeah, because in essence,
Of
you've become them, and it's like if you
exactly
you
the
want to know who
ACA
you are,
fourth,
just look at your parents.
the
Yeah, and it's
ACA
like
fourth step there.
wow,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, if I don't know if any other of the 12-step programs do that, but I don't know if that's exclusive to ACA. I don't remember. But the whole idea of looking at the family dynamics as a source of information about how you behave is critical.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, I like my dad. My dad passed away here on the 20th, and in the last 10 months. I've learned more about my dad. 10 months ago, I took over financial power of attorney and medical power of attorney. So I got to deal with all the stuff. And I learned more about him in those 10 months than I did. And he died at 93 and 92 years of our being together. And it's like, you know, life happens for me, not to me. And
Yeah.
so, okay. So now I get a deeper insight into my dad. I get to go through all his military transcripts and everything else. And I was doing that yesterday. And I got this, he kept everything. And
Well,
it's
that's
quite a
cool.
history that I didn't know,
That's
right?
cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there as we're running out of time here.
Yeah, this
I,
one has legs, so we can revisit it in another
well,
time.
or we can expand on it. I'd like to expand on it maybe next time you and I talk about the solution. We've talked about it, but we didn't really we we haven't shared our own experience with it in depth, which is I learned to love myself,
Right.
so that life being lived from the inside out, the love then starts coming from the inside out, and it I know for both of us this has shifted our lives radically. So, viewer, you'll have to stay tuned for a further discussion of the solution. But
Yeah.
or if you can't wait, you can always come to a meeting of the intentional living group. There are 4 different meetings every week. They're all on Zoom, and the times and days and Zoom addresses for each of those meetings will be at the end of the podcast. So come on and check it out. Ask questions, share your experience. Um, we're all in this together, and we learn together, and we support each other. And it turns out that the power of love really is incredible. And so, Dan, any last comments before we wrap it up?
Um, yeah. Acceptance is the key to developing self-love. Um, for me has been that journey of accepting who I am without blame, judgment, or guilt and shame has led to the ability to for me to love myself and have compassion for others.
Can't say fairer than that.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, my friend. And thanks everybody for joining us. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you.
Take care.